Hi, this is Mia. I wasn't gonna post my other video unless that I made yesterday until I edit it or shorten it or something, but my phone won't play anything because there's not enough memory, so I gotta figure out. I gotta connect it to my computer or something. I just finished a class at Abby's Kitchen where I live. This place actually closing in a month so she can write a book, but it was like a farm-to-table restaurant, usually by appointment, by reservation. It was kind of cool. There was a bunch of tables where people would sit, share tables, and then the kitchen part, you can see the whole thing. The big old refrigerator and all that kind of special, all the stuff you need in a restaurant, the cleaners and big counters and the oven and stuff. We didn't get to see the kitchen, but we didn't get to tour around the kitchen, but you could see it. And I was like, oh, it reminds me of working in a cafeteria when I was younger, and even working in the daycare center when I was younger. Yeah, I always want to do everything. Every field trip, every class I take, I'm like, I want to do that when I'm a doctor. I want to do this. Part of it, I don't want to give away my ideas. And the other part of me is like, why do I want to do everything? There's too much to do. I'm getting ready to go to the library. I have a book. I don't know. I don't like showing the covers because people don't like pictures or music that they think is copyrighted. It is copywritten, but I'm not trying to be like stealing people's stuff. Anyways, I basically wanted to see what happened to people. I knew a lot of people that went to a lot of clubs in Detroit and different activities and music events, and I really like the music, but I don't like that kind of scene, so I don't really go searching for that because of the scene. With any substance, any alcohol, any cigarettes even, I don't want to be around it. And I got that book in hopes of trying to just see what happened to that culture. A lot of people that, I had gone to some clubs to dance and stuff when I was in undergrad the first time, and there's a lot of, some of the people I hung out with then were like 40s, 50s, and just want to dance and have their homes in basements. They're the top part of the house. They're like superintendents of the school board or like the mayor of the city or whatever. And their houses were like, upstairs was like a decent, brick house neighborhood in the suburbs of Detroit or something. And downstairs they'd have like music and comfy couches and lights and stuff everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, I so want that. I don't want people to stereotype me. Just like I saw some Yahoo thing yesterday where they're like, they got the corn rolls mixed up with dreads, and it's like the guy cut his dreads to prevent stereotypes. But it's like, I know how, even at my school, we're not even allowed to have dreads showing while we're at clinic. So it's like, whatever. Not even going to go there. But yeah, I just wanted to give a video because I'm getting ready to go in the library, and that book's called Clubland by Frank Owen. Like, some things that I talk about, I'd be like, oh gosh, like, people I know from church or something would be like, why do you want to talk about that stuff? But I don't want to hide what's real or something that occurred. Someone can get up and dance or play, like I'll play records at home now. 20 years, I was trying to scratch records back in the early 80s when I was like 4 years old on a little DJ, you guys can see this on eBay or something, little plastic record player that would fold up and you could snap it shut and take it with you. And that's what I was doing. I was trying to scratch, and I didn't want to mess up my good 80s records and my Michael Jackson. They're my brother, so I was like, oh, I don't really like the Kenny Rogers that much. So I was like trying to scratch like the rappers on TV, and I'm like, it doesn't really sound like they do. And when I finally met some people who taught me about techno and about mixing and even mixing hip-hop, I was like so sucked into it. And I really, my mom offered me a gift in college, either a video camera or a sort of turntables. And I was like, if I do the turntables, I probably won't study. So just give me the video camera. And eventually my mom died, and somehow I got a tax return. I don't know how it happened. My dad did it for me. Like, he's weird like that. But I just went and got turntables, and I actually still have one. And this is like 15 years later. About 15 years later. It's been through a lot. It's been back and forth across the country in a car. It's been in U-Haul trucks. It's been with my ex-husband for months after I left him and fled to a shelter. Like, it's been around, and I'm going to clean the dust out of it, but I'm scared what I might find. Hopefully everything is all decomposed. Anyways, just don't note that. You never know. So, actually listening, I just flipped through the book a little bit. It was kind of like about murder and different things and different people doing different activities. I didn't really read it. It was due back at the library 3 days ago, so I got to go and pay my fine. And I wanted to be real about some of the things that I wonder what happened to those people. Those other people are like 50, 60, 70 years old. I don't want to say too much, but there's some doctors I know in my town. There's one that was talking a little bit about the music coming out of Detroit, the rave music, in the 90s and stuff. And that was it. People don't necessarily want to be associated with that life. For me, as I went to a couple things, went to a couple fields, I just really liked the music. Had all the music back then, tape recorders, tape players in the car, just playing. I'm pretty sure we started getting CDs. I don't know. I think people had CDs. My old cars had tape recorders, but other people had stereos put in, and that's just like, we just listen to music. I started listening to it to study. It's either that or classical, and I prefer this because, I don't know. I don't mind. I have a bunch of classical, but if I have a choice, I'll choose, like, techno type. And I was interested in, like, spinning techno. My ex-husband, he used to get a lot of Christian records. And we used to mix it in all the time, like Billy Graham records and all kinds of stuff, which I actually have some different things. And even, like, mixing in Bible verses, because I am Christian. I know I don't want to have, like, a bunch of cuss words or a bunch of inappropriate language or stuff about drugs. So I just want to say, I had actually been signed up for, like, a year or two to do youth at my church for teenagers and young, junior high kids and stuff, and I never turned in it much, except for I went to one of the campouts and had my kids be babysat for several days, which was really hard on the family, and I had to go back to town. It was just a lot to deal with. I was camping and then volunteering, and my kids were camping and then staying at someone's house, and a guinea pig and a hamster at home. I had to, like, come back from the country and swap out bags and swap out animal food and dishes and all that in like a 3-hour period. It was kind of I don't do stuff like that, and our church doesn't do that type of activities either. At least they didn't this past few years. Maybe they did something last year. I don't know. My kid go to one of the events, but she's so out of touch with everyone. But I had been involved, and I'd always say I want to do something, and they usually, like, didn't say anything. Didn't, like, remember that I'm supposed to be volunteering. So I would just attend all the things and just, like, kind of sit there and hang out and listen to the message and just talk to the kids and stuff. My kids were getting to be that age. When I started the church, my kids were toddlers and preschool age, so I started working with that age group so I could be around my kids, and they grew up. So, and I never did the elementary age kids. I always either did youth or, up until recently, I had been doing the nursery preschool for like 9 years straight. 10 years I had been doing it. Took a couple leave of absence because at school I'm often gone, and I hate that stress of being late or missing it or getting stuck in traffic and just being exhausted and not really doing, I don't know. And the team kind of was different too. I wasn't leader before for the first 8 years, and the leader, I would be, like, calling and praying and talking about our personal life, so we weren't talking about it during the class, and we'd split up the chore of the lesson and bring in snacks and all that kind of stuff. But when she left and we stopped being on that team, it just kind of was like, be here next week. And then it's like, as soon as I show up, all I did was look at the clock and be like, oh, you're late. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's, like, a marathon going on. It took me an hour and a half to get to church instead of 25 minutes. Which is my fault. I used to be able to get there at like 8 in the morning. But when I did the youth, all I did was the sound system, because they found out I was good at the sound system. But I've always been into soundboards, and I've got a degree in agriculture and natural resource communications, where you need to do a lot of video and classes in communications. And I'm good with connecting computers I'm good at connecting every electronic device in the house. If I have the wires. And I'm pretty good at knowing, hopefully, not to blast somebody's ears, which I really hate when people do. When you're, especially in a public setting, when they, like, turn stuff on wrong and you're totally blasted. It happens. There's feedback and stuff. People move around weird, but it's like, as long as you know where the kill switch is. But, that's hard. That was one of my biggest fears. And I actually did the soundboard for the youth, I did the soundboard for the VBS, and I did the soundboard for like 7, 8 years. I did the sound once a month, and then I did the video once a month, which is, it's the same team, but you're on different equipment. I miss all that stuff, and it's funny, it's like, they don't really tell you thank you or anything, and I'm not looking for thanks. God is collecting my credits in heaven, and that's not why I do it either. I did it because I liked it, and I knew how to do it, and when I finally, a lot of times at church, they don't see what I do, and then they're like, oh my gosh, you're really good. I've seen people trained in this stuff, and they've gone to classes for 10 years, and they like suck, and they don't listen. Like, you listen to cues when somebody's on the audio, or if somebody's quiet, gets on the mic or something, you know to turn it up, or someone loud, you know to turn it down, unless they want it to be loud. Like, you just watch and adjust. You don't just be like, okay, I turned everything on 2 hours ago, and I'm going to leave it like that, and just sit back here and sleep. It's like I'm like real time, because techno is like real time, and I've been a techno DJ since 98. I think it was 99. I learned it in 96, 95, I think. And hung out with some guy who had his whole rooms in a rooming house set up as just basically turntables and records. And I just spent a summer like learning the whole thing, and it was interesting. I mean, a lot of it is your own interest in what you like in music, but just also in those situations, it's like the music's like, when I first started listening to classical after I left my ex-husband, I was so emotional and stuff. I had a lot of walls built up. It was causing me just to start breaking down crying in the car. So, the only other thing I want to say is, I always had this vision. They have, like, rappers and hip-hop people, people that the youth people at my church like come in. I don't know if they ever had any rock bands come in to the youth, and they'd have, like, a youth night. I mean, they should have just had the whole church come instead of just the youth, because it's nice to have the place full. I mean, I've seen plenty of 60, 70-year-olds dancing and clapping their hands and jumping around. They jump around more than I do in some venues. And this is all different races, mostly, actually, not even my own race. But, I always had the vision that I'd come in one night and do, like, a clean set. Techno, or someone could have like a play or a skit where I would do the background music, and just like, I don't know, one of the guys that in the youth, he was doing commercial bits and stuff on the computer and stuff, like, 30-second sound bites. But I'm really into, like, sometimes music, whether it's classical or not, it just really expands, like, it just takes your brain to a different place. Like, you don't need drugs, you don't need this, and then if you're praying and like opening up your mind towards your God, it's like, wow. And I wanted to bring this up, but every idea I brought up was like, you're stupid and we don't want to talk to you, you're wasting my time. But I did hear one day before our music pastor went on to music school, or to a different schooling, she had said that she thinks you should go around your house and just turn off the TV and just play music and just like have instrumental. And I really was like, wow. I mean, just music without words, and just pray and just seek God and listen. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. But it took a worship minister to tell the church, hey, that's something that will, because you're not just bound to words and stuff. So I was really grateful to hear that. And I just really wanted to expand on it, but I've kept my mouth shut. And I have seen in Europe and different places a bunch of churches who are having like raves and different stuff where people are either just dancing like normal people or jumping and falling all over the place like crazy people. But it's like, I don't know anyone at all that understands me at all. My kids seem to, but that's because I raised them and they're genes and I'm a mom, so they're like, you're weird. But it's like a lot of things my kids will start talking about. My daughter, my son doesn't talk to me. It's like she understands certain things and where I'm coming from, but other people don't even want to listen. So it's like, yeah, it's like they have hip-hop and they're telling you to dance and jump, and it's like, I just don't really get into hip-hop, but I want to go and have a good time. And I mean, you got like 5 people on a stage rapping and stuff, and it's like, you don't want them to feel stupid if everyone is standing there staring at them. So it's like, actually one of the singers, I think I should get an album. my son was grumpy, my daughter was grumpy. We were sitting at a table, and they actually, this lady had a beautiful voice, and she was singing. I can't remember who it is. They're a local group. I'm trying to put this car cover. They were singing, and seriously, my son just got up and walked to the front of the church room and just was like, he was like sucked in, and it was, you know, it was gospel, hip-hop type music. Well, that makes it really dark. Anyways, it's getting really hot in the car. There's a lot of people walking around me, and I'm like, they're like, what do they do? And there's houses right next to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I probably think I'm videotaping them. But I just wanted to share that. There's a different culture. There's also a lot of church cultures that lose their teens. And I mean, my own teens have been lost. They're not waking up. They're not going in. They're not having good experiences. And I'm not saying that place is bad. And a lot of it, I have class and clinic at night. I miss the activities that are geared to their age. And I feel like right now I'm doing a lot of praying. And I know there's been a lot of talk about how I'm a bad parent and how I don't know how to discipline my kids and make them do something. But if my kid's not going to sleep, not going to wake up, they're too big for me to carry in the car. And even if I do carry in the car, they just sleep. They won't wake up from the car, and they're 100 pounds. I mean, I'm not going to lift them. I can lift that weight, but it's kind of awkward coming in late and dragging a teenager and laying them down and listening to them snore. So I'm doing what God told me to do, and that's just keep setting a good example. Keep setting a good example at home. Keep setting a good example going to church. Keep praying. Keep bringing the Bible out. Write Bible verses on the wall. Put stickers. Like, that's all I can do. I don't feel like it's the best thing I can do. But I think the most important thing for me in my faith is just to keep communicating with God and keep that word alive. And keep that as a priority in my life. And also keep note of what my conscience says. If I'm with a certain group of people, I don't feel safe, or someone's drinking and driving, or something, like saying with kids and teens, get out of the car and ride the bus. If you have to tell the bus driver, I'm sorry, I have no money. Anything. So, that's what I'm thinking today, is that God is telling me right now. I said, what can I do in the church? What can I do in our community? What could I do to help others? I know people are like, well, you need to donate money. That's what my problem was. And that's like, they're making speculations that I have problems with money, or that I have problems with different things. And my biggest problem is I don't have a lot of people to hang out with. And I've been hanging out with my neighbors who are Muslim, because they're very social, very happy, they're family-oriented, like to take care of the house, and some of them are working, and some of them are going to college. So the kids are really, I'm meeting some of the kids better, and they're trying to get scholarships for college, and working. They're all the older, 16 and over, are working jobs, riding the bus to work, paying for stuff, having phones. And I'm like, yeah, they're not just getting handouts. Like, I think that they are, like, just like people think that I am. So I just wanted to share that. God told me, just take care of your family right now. Nobody else is going to take care of my kids. And I did this in the past. I was volunteering 7 days a week. Nobody's going to, if I'm volunteering 7 days a week, my kids aren't getting taken care of properly. Yeah, they're coming with me and learning what to do, but they're not. I mean, my daughter became like the queen of volunteer work at school the past few years, and I was like, oh wait, you need to cut back and do your own homework and not be so stressed out. So that's what's going on right now, is that I'm been told recently in the past 12 hours that I need to just make sure to focus on my family and ignore these comments, because anyone who's making rude comments is not coming over to help. They don't even know the situation. And they don't know how, they're like, you need to take some bread to your neighbor, you need to do this. It's like, I do all that stuff. And I'm not going to go, I'm advertising it now, but it's like, I don't want to feel guilty like I'm not doing things that, and I'm not because a human told me, but because God told me. So that's where I am right now. I got to turn this off because I'm getting too hot, and there's a lot of crowd of teens over here, and it's kind of irritating me. I get irritated sometimes by people. I just like, can I just go to the beach and have a beach house where I can just chill, and if I want to be around people, I can be around people. Normally, I do try to be around people, but that's all I'm going to say right now, so I can keep this short. Bye-bye.